Rick runs after the school bus. The driver stops and he runs into the rearview mirror before getting hit by more things. He manages to climb aboard and says this story is all about Jill Johnson, the girl he's been in love with all his life. He sees his best friend Trey and sits next to him. He tells Rick to forget about Jill because she doesn't care about him and is dating Lance, the school bully and popular jock. The kids go to Amalgamated, a science facility, for their field trip. Dr. Strom shows them around and takes them into the room full of genetically engineered animals. Rick gathers up the courage to talk to Jill. He takes a picture of her for the school yearbook, but accidentally sets one of the animals on fire. He puts out the fire and knocks into Lance in the process. He's about to fight Rick, but is stopped by his uncle, Lou Landers, the CEO of Amalgamated. Lou talks to the kids and is about to leave when he coughs up blood. Rick asks if he's alright, and he lies by saying yes. When he leaves, Lance pushes Rick into a pile of poop. He tries to wash it off with water, but accidentally uses a powerful hormone that makes animals sexually aroused. Some animals try to mate with him. No one pays attention to him as Dr. Strom introduces the students to genetically enhanced super dragonflies. One has escaped and bites Rick. The entire bottle of synthetic pheromones falls onto Rick, and loads of animals try to mate with him. Aunt Lucille talks to Uncle Albert about Rick leaving in the middle of the school field trip. They share loving insults and talk about being in love. Rick gets home and is woozy from the bite. They don't notice anything wrong with him, despite him clearly being unwell. Albert talks to Rick about puberty, but accidentally reads out from a book on how women get their periods. He gives Rick an alcoholic drink to celebrate his journey into manhood, and ignores him when he collapses back onto the bed.
Not as valuable as mine, Mr. Carlson. You see, I have a terminal illness.
Carlston, one of the main directors at Amalgamated, tells Dr. Strom he's tired of waiting. Lou arrives and says he has 1 hour to live. He reveals a chair that can alter DNA. The board of directors call him crazy, but he insists he's a visionary. Dr. Strom warns him about the machine not being ready, but is told to go ahead anyway. The machine is started, but something goes terribly wrong and it shuts down. Carlston gloats about the invention failing and makes to leave when Lou grabs his hand. He sucks the life out of him and becomes young and strong. Rick wakes up after sleeping for 5 days. He tries to research what's wrong with him and gets a mysterious message from someone online about his condition. It's the school science fair, and Dr. Stephen Hawking is there as a judge. Rick's hand sticks to the water fountain and he tries to free himself, but ends up knocking into Lance.
Watch where you're going in slow-mo, dipshit.
He manages to avoid being hit with an amazing new reflexes, but this is short-lived as his hands end up sticking to people's clothes. And in the chaos, he knocks Stephen Hawking into a beehive. He walks home and tries out his new powers by climbing up a wall. He hears a commotion and sees a truck's brakes have gone and is about to drive into an elderly lady. He pushes the lady out of the way and stops the truck with his body. People compliment him and call him a hero, but he's distracted because his shove landed the elderly lady in a wood chipper and she ended up dying anyway. Albert is busy with a nail gun and accidentally shoots it at Rick, who catches it.
My God.
He admits to his uncle and Trey that he has superpowers. They find out he's got armored skin, but he ends up arguing with Albert and storming outside. Outside, Rick thinks about the night his parents died. The three of them were leaving the opera. He spoke about wanting to change people's lives for the better, and his father told him that people will look to him to be a hero, so he must be ready. They were attacked, and Rick tried to defend and save his parents, but ended up getting them shot anyway. Before dying, his father gave him an heirloom ring and told him to earn it by being a hero. Rick's brought out this memory when he hears Jill and her parents fighting. Cher also storms outside, and he asks if she's okay. He apologizes for freaking people out at the science fair, and she says it's alright. She's upset because her parents want her to go to college, but she wants to be a dancer. He says he believes in her, and she says he's the only one. Lance pulls up in his expensive car and she wonders out loud if dating him is the right thing. Before leaving, she tells Rick that she can get rides with him when he gets a car. In his room, he gets a video call from Professor Xavier, but it cuts out. He finds an advert for a bank loan and decides to visit the bank to get money for his car. His loan is rejected, and he's about to leave when the bank is robbed. He does nothing to stop the robber because the bank didn't help him.
You let him get away with our money.
I don't see how that's my problem.
But the robber ends up shooting Albert. Lou examines himself and suddenly begins aging. His assistant tries to help him, but he ends up sucking the life out of her and becoming young again. He hides her body. Albert is in a coma at the hospital, and the doctors predict he'll die within a week. Rick hears someone speaking in his head and meets with Professor Xavier. He's taken to a special school for those gifted with unusual abilities. Xavier believes Rick has potential to be the best. While they're talking, Xavier's wife and children confront him about sleeping with the invisible woman. They use their mental abilities to send him flying. Xavier's wife tells Rick that the secret to being a superhero is making a suit. He makes a suit and tests out his abilities. He still can't fly, but still uses his powers to help people in the city. Dr. Storm calculates that Lou will need to kill someone every day unless they steal the ceruleum Stephen Hawking's lab is working on. Rick sees a newspaper offering to pay well for images of him, so he decides to save up money for a car using this job. At the newspaper office, a report of an ongoing robbery comes in and Rick sneaks off. He surprises everyone when he arrives and is shocked to see someone else with superpowers. It's Lou, in costume, and he calls himself the Hourglass. They fight and both take hits before Lou escapes. Rick and Trey discover his weakness is titanium blades. He gets distracted by Jill while they're talking, and Aunt Lucille warns him that enemies will try to hurt him by going through people he loves. He ignores her and pursues Jill. He gives her flowers after her audition, and she wonders why Lance can't be like him. She calls him a good friend before walking away. Some guys try to attack her, but Rick wears his Dragonfly costume and rescues her. She's impressed by his abilities, and they kiss in the rain. Lou develops a machine that will use the ceruleum he stole to drain the life out of enough people so he can be immortal. Jill joins Rick's family for Thanksgiving. Jill talks to Lucille and wonders if she'll ever find real love. The doorbell interrupts their conversation. Lance and Lou walk in for dinner. Rick climbs into his room after a busy day saving people. Lou offers to check on him, and he manages to stick to the ceiling, but needs to keep finding new hiding places from Lou, who eventually gets bored and leaves.
Sorry I'm late. Oh, Mr. Landers.
Rick walks through the front door and pretends he's only just arrived home. They have dinner and talk about Rick being the Dragonfly's official photographer. Lou is intrigued, and he and Rick end up noticing injuries on each other that occurred during their fight as the Dragonfly and the Hourglass. Lou excuses himself from dinner. Lucille naps on the couch after dinner, and Jill stays behind to help clear up. She asks Rick if the Dragonflies ever talked about her. He plays along, and they're about to kiss, but the Hourglass bursts through the wall. He injures Lucille as a way of showing Rick who will get hurt if he continues being the Dragonfly. Lucille dies, and Albert comes out of his coma. At her funeral, Albert accidentally sets her body on fire. Jill consoles Rick after losing his aunt. He realizes they can never be together, so he pretends he doesn't love her. She leaves, and he convinces himself it's for her own good. Rick is depressed at home. Albert and Trey arrive and scold him about laying about the house and even wearing a fake beard. He wishes he'd never been bitten. Albert says that if Rick leaves the Dragonfly behind, then he doesn't deserve the ring his father gave him. Doing good is all that matters. They figure out that the Hourglass will be at the World Humanity Awards. Jill, Lance, and Lou are there. Rick meets with Lou backstage and asks for his help in finding out who the Hourglass is. Lou lies and pretends he saw the Dalai Lama with the stolen ceruleum. The Dragonfly attacks the Dalai Lama in front of everyone, which causes everyone else to fight each other. In the chaos, Jill figures out that Lou is the Hourglass. Rick goes after him, but is trapped. Lou throws a titanium blade at him, and Jill jumps in front of it to save Rick. Lou runs away, and Stephen Hawking tells him that the hero comes from within. Lou sets up the machine on the roof when Rick arrives with Jill. He grabs hold of the machine, which brings Jill back to life.
Dragonfly!
No.
He fights with Lou and manages to blow him and the machine up, but Jill is knocked off the roof. He jumps after her. They talk as they fall, and she figures out the Dragonfly is Rick. They kiss, and he sprouts wings. He carries her up to the roof and reunites with Albert and Trey. The four of them happily walk away after saving the day.